Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Hope you all are having a great week. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing how to run a half marathon under 1:30. So anybody that's trying to run under an hour and 30 minutes for the half marathon definitely has a combination of genetic talent as well as a very high pain tolerance. You have to be able to be in phenomenal anaerobic shape in order to run 1:29:59 or faster for the half marathon. It's not about, like I talk about in other videos, it's not about training harder to get under this particular time barrier. You need to train smarter. You need to set up your training in more of a strategic manner so that you can get that 6 minutes and 52 seconds per mile or 4 minutes and 16 seconds per kilometer pace to feel more in control. You don't want to be fatigued in the early stages, in the early miles, and the early kilometers of a half marathon when you're trying to run this fast. So over the years, the half marathon, I had particularly this particular event, the half marathon is without question my favorite event. I was able to run 1 hour and 7 minutes and 6 seconds for this particular race, so I understand the complexities and what it takes in order to sustain race pace for the entire 13.1 miles or 21.1 kilometers. And really it's also more of an aerobic event as opposed to an anaerobic event like the mile or 5K. So you can make a few more pace mistakes in this race, but you want to pay attention, especially if you're trying to run under an hour and 30 minutes for a half marathon. You need to pay attention to your pacing in the early stages of your race. Don't go out too fast in this race. You want to also pay attention to your hydration practices. Definitely in training, make the mistakes in training, adjust how much fluid intake that your stomach can withstand, obviously, when you're training for a half marathon. But a big mistake that athletes are making that are trying to run very fast over the half marathon distance is they're not taking in enough fluid and they're not taking in enough calories during their race. In a half marathon event, one of the best things you can do is definitely take 3 gel packs. Get one, put 1 gel in each side of your shorts so you get 2 gels, and then take another one at around mile 10 of the race. Usually in most races start handing out gels usually around between 9 and 10 miles in a half marathon. So ingesting those 3 packets of gel packets during your race is going to ensure you get an additional between 300 and 450 calories immediately sent into your bloodstream while you're racing. So as well as when you're racing, definitely pay attention to the amount of fluid you're taking in. But because you're ingesting more of those sugars, you're going to have a much better chance of not experiencing the so-called wall that we hit. When we hit the wall in a half marathon or a marathon or longer races, it's usually because we're running very, very low on carbohydrates. And what I talk about in other videos and how I set up the training plans and courses on RunDreamAchieve.com is we focus the athlete on preparing in such a way that you burn fat at race pace and you conserve carbohydrate so that you don't run out of carbs at the wrong time in the race. You want to be able to make sure that you're relying on what you have much more storage of, and that's fat. So when you're training at paces that are far faster than your goal half marathon race pace, in this case 6:52 mile pace or 4:16 per K pace, if you're training more closer down toward 6 minutes to 6:10 mile pace or around 3:35 to 3:40 per K pace, you're going to be training at paces that are obviously much, much faster than your goal race pace. So that is the type of effort that you need to be focusing on. That is more so around your anaerobic threshold, or slightly faster than your anaerobic threshold. That's the point where you start to build up lactic acid in the bloodstream and in your body, and the point where you have just enough lactic acid that you're running at an aggressive enough pace, but you're able to clear it faster than it's building up. When we're doing the VO2 max workouts, like in this case, if you're trying to run under an hour and 30 minutes for the half marathon, you want to be able to get to a point where you can do and we focus on this on the training plans and the courses as well. Focus on getting to a point where you can do repeat 400s around 1:25 to 1:26 seconds per rep, repeat 800s around 2 minutes and 53 seconds to 2 minutes and 55 seconds per rep when you're at your very fittest. We don't start off this fast, mind you. So focusing on Ks, doing those Ks repeat kilometers on the track around 334 to 337 per K pace. Repeat miles anywhere from around 545 to 549 per mile repetition, and doing those reps between 5 and 6 1-mile reps. Early on, those mile reps aren't going to be that fast, so you're not focusing on 545 to 549. We'd be focusing more toward around 610 to 615 mile pace with like a 4-minute rest in between each rep. And then as you become very, very fit, and we focus on the latter stages of your preparation, we would focus more on around 545 to 549 per mile rep. Again, 5 to 6 reps, but only with 3 minutes rest in between each one of those repetitions. So again, there's no rest periods in a half marathon. So you want to train at paces that are much, much faster than this goal sub 1 hour and 30-minute half marathon pace. That's the only way to get 652 mile pace or 416 per K pace to feel moderately hard rather than extremely hard. Okay, so it doesn't matter that you can hold sub 130 half marathon pace for 15 kilometers of your race. You need to be able to finish that race below that goal race pace. Okay, it's where you're at the finish line that counts. It's not a matter of saying, well, I was on race pace, I was on sub 130 pace for 10 miles of the race, but the last 5K I fell apart. Okay, where were you at the finish line? That's what matters. So you've got to train in such a way as to make sure that you're burning fat at race pace and conserving carbohydrates so that you have those additional glycogen storage and those glycogen stores at the end of your race to call upon so that you can pick up the pace or basically just maintain the pace. A lot of times we feel like we're speeding up at the end of the race, but really we're just maintaining the pace we were holding in the earlier stages of our half marathon. Okay, pacing is huge too. You do not want to go out too fast in the first half of a half marathon and fall apart at the end of the race. You know, you want to make sure that you're picking up pace and you're passing people in the later stages of your race. How you set up your training is what's going to dictate how successful you are at breaking 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, it's not about running very high miles or very high kilometers each week. Sure, you can run a lot of mileage per week. It's going to make you very strong endurance-wise. You're going to be very fit, obviously very aerobically fit. But what you need to be to break 1 hour and 30 minutes for the half marathon is you need to be anaerobically fit. You need to have trained very hard in training, but not so hard that you go into the race feeling fatigued and unmotivated and stale. Okay, so it's about how you're setting up your training. That's why I think too that investing in yourself, I know it takes money out of your pocket to buy a program or to invest in personal coaching. I've done that over the years as well. If I run across somebody that's an expert in my field that has done more and is and has achieved what I want to achieve, I'm willing to spend that money so that I can pick that person's brain and figure out what it is they're doing or what it is they've done in the past that has worked so well for them, so that I can get or match what they've done or exceed what they've done. Okay, so the most disciplined athletes I've known over the years too, they care about self-development, and anybody that's trying to run under 1 hour and 30 minutes for a half marathon, in my book, is an elite athlete. You have got to be very, very fit to be able to run that pace for 13.1 miles or 21.1 kilometers and not slow down. To be able to sustain that particular effort and slow down less than your competition says a lot about the athlete. And it's not to discredit somebody that's trying to run under 3 hours for the half marathon. That athlete has to work just as hard as somebody that's trying to run under 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's just the paces are different. So, over the years, what helped me the most in the half marathon distance was focusing on training closer down toward my 3K to 10K race pace. Getting very well accustomed to being very uncomfortable in training. Okay, so the VO2 max workouts we talk about, regardless if you're training for the mile or the full marathon or the half marathon, those are key particular bread and butter workouts that you have to do. You have to extend out the amount of time you're training at your tempo effort, your anaerobic threshold. If you're training for a half marathon under an hour and 30 minutes, what I did over the years too, I would get to a point where I could do between 8 miles to 10 miles, or anywhere from around, I'm trying to think of kilometers. So 16 kilometers, out to around 16 kilometers for a tempo run. So you're training for long periods of time at your anaerobic threshold, and you can do that, but it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to start a half marathon training plan doing a 10-mile tempo right off the bat. Sure, you can do it, but you're not going to be able to hold tempo pace for 10 miles. You might hold it for a mile or two in the early stages when you're not very anaerobically fit. That goes for me, and that goes for anybody else. Nobody can just jump into training that quick. So there's a process you need to follow. So focus on gradually over time, spending long periods of time training at your anaerobic threshold, and then focus on jogging on those easy days. Take off the watch. Don't focus on what kilometer pace you're running on easy days or what per mile pace you're running on easy days. It doesn't matter. Those particular days are for recovery. So, and I promise you, the way I set up my training and the courses and training plans, those hard days are going to test you to the max, okay? So you're going to need those easy days. You're going to need to pay attention to the importance of recovery on those easy days so that you can be prepared to handle those very hard track workouts and road sessions. If you're wanting to run under an hour and 30 minutes for the half marathon, you cannot spend every single weekend running long, slow, and easy, okay? It doesn't matter even if you're doing 32-kilometer long runs or 35-kilometer long runs. If you're running those miles or those kilometers too slow, all it's going to do is make you very, very fit aerobically. You need to spend some time training at a longer period of time during those long runs at a much faster pace than you've been accustomed to in the past. So start varying up the paces of your long runs as well. I do have a sub 130 half marathon training plan on RunDreamAchieve.com. I'm in the works of creating a course specifically for athletes trying to break an hour and 30 minutes, as well as for athletes trying to break 5 minutes for the mile. I know these distances very well. I've run, like I said, 107.06 for the half. When I ran my 219 marathon, I hit the first half of that marathon in 107.09, 3 seconds off my personal best for the half. So I've run fast for this distance, fast enough to understand what it takes to run under an hour and 30 minutes. And it takes mental toughness as well. So if you're not practicing on a daily basis, mental preparation, mental visualization, seeing yourself getting across the finish line in an hour and 29 minutes and 59 seconds, doing that routinely. If you're skimping on that and you're just paying attention to your physical training, you're going to have, physical training is very important. There's no question about it. You're not going to run under an hour and 30 minutes by just running easy long runs or just easy miles or easy kilometers every single week. You need to train at very fast efforts, closer to around 3K to 5K efforts. You need to run longer periods of time at your anaerobic threshold so you can get that 652 mile pace or 416 kilometer pace to feel more controlled and less taxing on the body and less fatiguing on the body. And you need to also run very easy so that you can recover. You know, I think the big mistake a lot of athletes that are trying to run fast for the half marathon are making is they're still running too fast on easy days. Okay, there's a place for running very fast, and that's for those hard VO2 max workouts. It's for anaerobic threshold runs. It's for varying up paces during your long runs, like doing a 20 mile or a 32 kilometer run, running the first 5K or the first 5 miles easy, or the first 8K easy, then running the 2 miles very hard at closer to around your 5K effort, then going 2 miles easy, then running 10 miles at like 20 seconds slower than your anaerobic threshold effort, and then running maybe the last mile or the last 2 kilometers of that long run at close to your 3K to 5K race pace. So it's a combination of running at different paces, varying up the efforts, and then following up the following weekend jogging, nice, easy, relaxed long runs so that you can bounce back from that hard anaerobic effort, okay? So those are kind of my thoughts in regards to breaking an hour and 30 minutes. You need to get, like I said, spend time training closer down toward 6 minutes to 6 minutes and 10-second mile pace, or around 3 minutes and 30 to 3 minutes and 35 second per K pace. Okay, that's gonna, again, train well below goal race pace. And then again, spend longer periods of time training at your anaerobic threshold. Be consistent. Remember to follow the periodization of training, where you focus on a specific amount of time, 3 to 4 weeks at a specific effort. Allow your body time to adapt to those anaerobic efforts, and then go to the next 3 to 4 weeks segment of your training, and then focus on a higher effort and lower rest. And again, we move into this. This is how we train in the Run, Dream, Achieve courses and the training plans. And then focus on that 10-day taper, okay? Once you drop down your volume and your intensity and you're rested and you go into your race rested, you're gonna run under an hour and 30 minutes if you've done your homework in training. Don't skimp on training on hydrating better in training so that you don't make that mistake in the race, and taking in more calories. So if you have any questions or concerns regarding the half marathon, leave me a comment below this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Where are you currently at in the half marathon? And what's been the biggest problem for you, and what has worked for you in preparing for your half marathon events? So I look forward to hearing from you and your comments. I wish you guys all and gals all the best in your preparation. And let me know if there's anything else I can help you out with. I'll talk to you all in the next